just by virtue of being in that spot, you're doing like $3 to $4 million on Amazon per day.
We're definitely seeing some algorithm changes. We're seeing that like, hey, you got to pay to play a little bit more. Everybody's watching TikTok. Whether or not they're going to buy from the video, you're still in their head now.
Why wouldn't I want 200 people like talking about my brand? Welcome to the Brand Fathers. All right, so today we are talking TikTok Shop, everything that brands and marketers need to know about how to find success there, evaluating whether or not it is right for their brand. And then we're going to do a live walkthrough of what it looks like to actually set up a brand on TikTok Shop and what a strategy looks like over 30, 60, 90 days. We're going to talk things like the budget needed, the type of products and brands that work well. And today I'm going to be doing this with Zen, who runs an awesome TikTok Shop agency. He's been in the space for quite some time, someone who I have followed on Twitter for years, always dropping gems and alpha from being in the trenches, working with these brands. I know you work pretty closely with TikTok too, so you often have some insider information. Hopefully we can pull that out of you today. And this is really going to be not just a primer on all things TikTok Shop, but going deep as a playbook for you. So, Zen, thank you for making some time today.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be here. It's great meeting you in person. I know we follow each other for a little bit on Twitter and the socials, so good to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with this. I'm a huge believer in TikTok. I make content both personally and as a brand. I know some of the figures, like TikTok Shop has done over $1 billion a month in GMV. They have hundreds of thousands of stores on there. I know stories like Guru Nanda doing 50 million plus just in a quarter. So these are I understand the opportunity, but do you think that brands of all sizes and scales understand the opportunity? Are there misunderstandings about who and what TikTok Shop is for?
Yeah, for sure. I think people are still figuring out, like, the platform has changed so much. Like you mentioned, like Guru Nanda, they were like one of the big winners, like kind of back in the day almost to say, but it's like 2 years ago when it came out of beta. Now they've kind of been like replaced. So like it's moved so quickly. You started off with like brands that were, a lot of the complaints were like, oh, there's so many like knockoffs, there's so many dupes. Like this is just cheap products and like cheap crap. And now it's like you have like huge. And I think you see that evolve a lot of times, even with Meta. It's like, it used to be a lot cheaper. Like you could just be doing drop shipping. You could be doing like almost like an arbitrage. And now it's like, you need like solid branding. You need LTV. You need like, so I think right now you're still finding like, okay, if you're a brand that's like more of like impulse buy, you're like at that $20, $30 price point, like TikTok Shop is a great channel for you. If you're more luxury brand, like you're talking like $200, $300, like there needs to be a pretty long sales cycle. You're probably not going to get people to convert from like a 30-second TikTok video.
Sure.
Obviously great, like top of funnel, like TikTok's always been great top of funnel for those brands. Like you see them on TikTok, you might see a longer form YouTube video, you might get a bunch of emails from the brand, then you end up converting. But right now it's still like, if it's an impulse buy, that's what's going to trigger the sale. You get a few hundred orders. That's when like virality kicks in. TikTok's like, oh, I know exactly who to target. Cause like you got 200 orders and like 10% of your orders were people who also bought this. Now people who buy this or look at that video, I'm going to show them your video. So the order count kind of helps it get that data so that it can target better. Because at the end of the day, like TikTok's been around for a few years. Like they're competing with Meta that has like 15 years longitudinal of your data. So they just don't have as much data. So it's just going to be, as you get purchases, it gets easier. And the easiest way to get a ton of orders is just to be at like a lower price point. Then the conversion rate's a little bit higher than if you're a more expensive product. So kind of long-winded answer, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
Got it. There's a few things I want to tease out here. So I want to come back to just kind of like evaluating brands where TikTok Shop is a right fit versus not a right fit. But going back to this earlier point, so you said kind of like Guru Nanda was an early winner on there. And I saw Guru Nanda making just a lot of organic content themselves. Now I've seen tons of brands. I saw a stat. There was a brand like Made by Mitchell that when they had started on TikTok Shop, they sold like $20 their first live. Now they've done $1 million in a day. What has shifted in terms of TikTok Shop strategy from the Guru Nanda days to today?
Yeah, I think what you're finding is like back then, if you added a shop link, like things would just kind of explode.
Okay.
Because obviously they have control over the algorithm. They wanted shop to take off. They were doing some crazy subsidies. Like you've heard of brands where like they were like making like $10, $20 an order just coming from TikTok subsidies. So like TikTok was paying like 30% off for a new customer. They were paying free shipping for new customers. So like that really helped. And then anything tagged with a shop link was just getting a little bit algorithm boost. Now you're seeing it's a little bit more pay to play. It's like you're not going to get as much reach. The platform's a lot more competitive. They're really pushing you to spend on ads more to get that distribution, to get that views. Because obviously at the end of the day, like they're getting their 6%, but like if you spend on ads, it's a little bit more money that's coming in for TikTok. They're kind of pulling back on some of those subsidies. Like they're trying trying to get this to look maybe a little bit more profitable. Maybe TikTok's going to sell the US division, maybe not, like who knows, but we're definitely seeing some algorithm changes. We're seeing that like, hey, you got to pay to play a little bit more. Obviously at the beginning of the platform to get brands on, it was, there was a ton of money coming at you. Now it's kind of lessened a bit. So I think Guru Nanda was like kind of those early days where a lot of people weren't paying attention to TikTok Shop. You had brands like BK Beauty that were just like, I think they said they made like over $1 million just like subsidies. And now it's becoming, you got to pay to play, you got to pay more for ads. They're really trying to push live streaming. Live streaming is like a whole nother conversation.
Yep. Later on, I want to break out the strategy a little bit because I think you mentioned a few different things. There's live streaming, there's ads, there's seeding, there's organic content. I want to talk about how all of these pieces interplay because I am still, of the mindset like, hey, we have this brand, we can get on TikTok Shop, have our founder make content, add in a shop link. We've actually done that a few times and those videos don't perform at all. So maybe that worked in 18 months ago, 24 months ago, but does not work now. And so I want to talk about like what would our strategy be now and how we would actually go about that. But kind of taking a step back. So you've worked with tons of brands and done 50 million plus in GMV for these brands. You talk to a lot of brands about getting set up on TikTok Shop. I'm sure there are brands that you take on and there's brands that you turn away. The brands that you turn away, why do you turn them away? Or what are the common patterns of things that you see there? Whether it is they don't have enough budget to allocate for it, they don't have the right kind of like product fit for it, they don't have other channel diversity. Like what are some of those like mental, like what's a kind of like checklist you're going through in your head for stuff that you turn away and stuff that you want to take on?
There's a few things that we look at. Bare minimum, like we want to see some kind of D2C presence because it's obviously very different to ship directly to consumer versus if you're just, shipping to Walmart or Target. So you want to have that infrastructure. Price point, we're looking usually like $20, $30 is what does best.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends on the category. If you're taking like a $300, $400 Dyson vacuum and you're discounting that to $60, like of course that's going to do really well because the perceived value is high. But if you have a supplement that you're trying to price at 60 and it's a little bit more luxury and then you have competitors at like 20, 30, on Meta that might do well. There's a joke that like on Meta, you have a lot of boomers, like they have plenty of money. The AOVs are pretty high. TikTok's just very different. It's a much younger audience. Like, yeah, everyone's on there, but a lot of the shoppers are like Gen Z, millennial, maybe like 40s, is the max. So like you want to have stuff that's like very impulse buy, kind of more trendier kind of branding, like brighter. You guys do a good job of like showing what's kind of the new branding in this day and age. And it's like brighter colors. It stops the scroll more. It's just a little bit more friendlier to like Gen Z and millennial. That works a lot better than like an audience where like the branding is kind of targeted towards an older audience. The price point's higher. So that's primarily what we look at as like the bare minimum. And then in terms of budget, like obviously it's an investment. Like you're not going to, in this day and age, like you're not going to turn on TikTok Shop and be profitable from day one. So like the way we like to think about it is like you're going to send at least 200, 300 samples per month. So whatever your COGS is on that, you got to take it into account. Like maybe it's $10 per sample. So you need to have the budget for that. We're, accounting for a little bit of budget for ads in the beginning, but it's like first you need to have good creatives. So if you can send out a couple hundred free samples to commission-only creators, that's kind of bare minimum. Have a little bit of money for ads. And then obviously the more money, the more budget that the brand has for flat fee creators, just the easier you can kind of get over that hump in the beginning and do that 0 to 1. So if you have, money allocated where you can pay someone to post a video every day for 30 days, and it's like a creator that's driven like 10, 20, 50K, whatever it is of revenue, that's obviously going to help you get results faster. So if a brand can do that, that's great. But bare minimum, they need to have in their budget that they can send out a couple hundred samples per month and be able to give it 3 months before they need to realize a profit. If they're like day one, we need this to be profitable, it's probably not a good fit.
Got it. Okay. So I want to come back to all of this stuff on creator seeding in just a minute. One of the comments that I would hear from more established brands that have a presence, that are maybe omni-channel, that have 10, 15, 20-year track record, real strong brand identity, is that TikTok Shop was kind of overlooked because they're like, it's like some cheap supplement. It's some 22-year-old kid like making outrageous claims. And I think there was an era in 24 months ago where a lot of the products seemed like super cheap, kind of like knockoff, like scammy kind of products and tactics. Is that still the case? Do you see things changing and maturing? Do you see any larger, well-known brands on TikTok Shop, even if they don't have as much traction there? Like, do you see Nike, Crocs, Stanley, any of these brands there? So kind of like two-part question. One, is that conception or misconception like still true? And then two, do you see any of these like bigger brands have a presence there?
Yeah, I think like that's the problem that a lot of big brands bring up is like, hey, we really want to control the branding. We want to be able to review every single video before it goes live. Like all those things that just TikTok Shop is not really built for. You know, of course, if you hire a creator and you're like, hey, I want 30 posts, you can get them to submit them to you before they go live. But generally, it's like if you're selling a product, someone can buy the product. If they're a creator, they can just post a video. And that's kind of the ethos. It's very organic. It's like, hey, people are just reviewing the product.
Sure.
So that's kind of a tough pill for some of the bigger brands to swallow. But in terms of like making claims and stuff, I think you'll see like all you have to do is go into like these creator discords or communities. Like a lot of them are pretty upset because they're like getting violations and stuff. And they're like, I said this and I wasn't even making a health claim and I got shut down and my account got banned. And I think you'll see like G&E, which is like governance and ethics or something in TikTok department. They have to get stricter and stricter over time, especially if it's like TikTok something that they're going to sell or like they have investors. They're like everybody's kind of watching like how strict they're going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously there's compliance issues. So I think over time it's gotten better and better. And it's getting stricter and stricter. The AI is really good at detecting when you make a health claim or something like that. The video automatically goes down.
Yep.
So maybe in the beginning you saw a lot of like private label kind of sketchy supplements and things like that. But now you have like huge brands like Nature Made, Physician's Choice, like Goalie. Like these are like 9-figure brands that obviously are scrutinized pretty closely by like the regulatory agencies. They're on there and they're doing pretty well on there. Physician's Choice, I think, is doing over $1 million a month. Goalie is like one of the standouts, doing like $6-7 million a month. These are like huge brands that are in all the retailers, very well known. So I think it's shifting. It depends on the category. Like if you look at supplements, it's like every health and wellness brand. It's like, okay, we need to get on TikTok Shop.
Sure.
No brainer. If you look at like food and beverage, it's starting to get there. If you look at beauty, it's kind of starting to get there. And then like every other category, it's like they're still trying to get some of those household names to come on. Some of those categories aren't as big. I would say like beauty, health and wellness, food and beverage, like those are already pretty large. But then there's like the Stanleys of the world and things like that they're, you know, when you go to these conferences, you see TikTok there. They have a biz dev team. They're trying to get them on board. But yeah, it just depends on like, do you feel like your demographics is on there? Do you feel like your target audience is on there? And I think for a lot of these big brands, they're appealing to a pretty wide sector of the economy to have a TAM big enough to be 9, 10, 11 figures. So of course their audience is on there. If they're willing to invest in it, put in the time, money, when there's like kind of regulatory uncertainties, is TikTok still going to be here? That's like a whole nother story.
I want to come back to like the regulatory changes and whether or not TikTok's going to be here, because I'm sure you get asked that all the time. And I'm also curious what TikTok has kind of like shared with you or any kind of just like insider like alpha that you have there. But before that question, so you mentioned this idea that brands, especially ones that have been around for a long time, that want to like control their brand image a little bit more and are concerned about creators just like seeding product and then them being allowed to say whatever they want. What is your perspective, or what would your response? Say you are like Stanley Tumblers and Stanley's like, we don't want to, like, who knows what these people will say or show off about our product. And there's a reason why I bring them up. And they're scared about letting creators just have like free creative freedom. What is your take and perspective on that like big brands view? Do you get it? Do you say like, hey, that's antiquated thinking? I'm curious. What's your take?
I actually just had a conversation yesterday with like Simple Modern, for example.
Sure.
They're doing great. One of their co-founders and I were chatting. That's like a pretty sizable brand, and you know, maybe not Stanley level, but pretty big. They have some great posts on LinkedIn about just like the halo effect to other channels. What I would say is like people are going to be making those videos regardless, right? Like if you're Stanley, someone's going to buy Stanley and they're going to make a TikTok on it, or they're going to be holding it. They might be saying things that maybe Stanley doesn't agree with, but like that's the nature of social media, right? If you do, you know, the Cracker Barrel rebrand, like everybody's talking about it, posting their takes. It's not like they can go and take those down, right?
Yeah.
That's the nature of it. If you're a large enough brand and there's something that's really, you feel like it's hurting your brand, TikTok's pretty good, right? They don't want brands to be upset. So like first you can message the creator, ask them to take it down. If they don't take it down, then you can submit to the TikTok team and be like, hey, these are the things that like shouldn't have been said or that we think are against the guidelines, right? And if it's against the guideline, then they'll help you take that down. So I think it's not as big of a risk as people think. Obviously there are some rules like, hey, if you're a supplement brand, you're responsible for what your marketers are saying or what your marketing team or your agency is saying. So like your creators can't be saying certain things. And the brands that we've seen that take that seriously, as they should, they have a pretty, you know, solid creative briefs. It's like, hey, this is what to say. This is what not to say. There's going to be some creators that ignore it, but I think you'll find that like what they're not supposed to say is in the TOS that would get you to have a violation anyways in the video to be taken down. So I give that pretty strong creative brief to creators. They know exactly what they're not supposed to say. So if they say something they shouldn't, then they're obviously not getting any more samples. And typically those videos don't even do that well because it's like kind of an outrageous claim and people don't really believe it and get stuck at like a few hundred views. So I think it's kind of an overblown problem that like if you're a big brand, like maybe your lawyers are bringing up, but like anything you want to do that's different, they're probably flagging, right?
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And I kind of think about like Stanley, they had that moment with like that woman whose like car caught on fire and then like it showed like the Stanley tumbler in there. I'm sure that did like, it did like 95 million views and like, I don't doubt that it drove a ton of sales for them, especially as it was kind of around the holiday.
100%.
Like if you think about that was like totally natural, right? And if you take a step back and it's like, hey, say you were on the marketing team at Stanley, could they all sit in a room and like conceive of that idea and then engineer it and then get like creative and legal to sign off on it? Absolutely not. But it turns out like that piece of creative like was the best like marketing that it probably eclipsed all of their other like marketing and content over the past handful of years. I have this conversation with brands all the time from like a design standpoint that they want everything to feel on brand and they have these like very strict creative guardrails around it. But then you realize like, hey, sometimes it's just that person like speaking just so authentically about the product in ways that maybe you haven't thought about that is actually the thing that like moves the needle versus like your hyper prescriptive like brand message that just like falls flat because like corporate speak. So note to some of the bigger brands there. I think the small brands see it. They're just like, oh, why wouldn't I want 200 people like talking about my brand? But when you're Le Creuset or Stanley or Crocs, you're like, no, I want to be a little bit more guarded. A word that you used was halo, and I want to unpack this a little bit. So you said there's like a halo effect. So you said two things. One, there's brands that have an expectation about being profitable on like first order early on in TikTok shop, but then there's also this like long tail like halo effect. First, what is this halo effect? And then two, what have you kind of seen?
Yeah, for sure. So like the halo effect that people talk about is like, hey, I have a video that went viral on TikTok and I'm seeing that like that same day that it went viral on TikTok, my Amazon sales spike. Or you're seeing something like a brand like Goli, they do this crazy creator contest, and the month that they're doing this creator contest and they're getting a lot of noise on TikTok shop, also Target is coming to them and being like, wow, you're flying off the shelves, right? Like their retail velocity is picking up. So it's like none of this exists in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. It's like why we've had so many issues with like attribution, why there's like multi-touch attribution tail brands or companies, I guess you would say, things like North Beam and Triple Well. They're trying to help you figure out, okay, where did they actually hear from you first, and not which ad platform is taking credit. So like anytime you have something that does really well on TikTok Shop and it's kind of a newer platform, it's like maybe a lot of those people who are viewing it have never bought from TikTok Shop before. Maybe it's a pretty expensive product where they're like, hey, I know Amazon, I know like the return policy, I'd rather buy it there. Maybe it's something like kind of urgent, like it's some like immune support product or something, and it's like they're sick, they want it from Amazon in 2 days. FBT is at 3 days, or maybe the seller's shipping it themselves. So they're going to go over to Amazon and buy it, right? Because that's where they trust that they're going to get it quickly and they can return it easily. So like that is pretty powerful, where it's like, okay, if you're just going to break even on TikTok Shop, like some brands like Goli, they're breaking even or even like losing money on the channel, knowing that like, hey, my LTV is pretty strong. Yep. My halo effect's pretty strong. I'm in these retailers, and like people will tell you like, it's kind of tough to get into these retailers, but it's even harder to stay in, right? Yeah. You need that retail velocity. So like, hey, if I break even on TikTok Shop, but I'm getting like, let's say 5, 10, 20% spill over to Amazon, and I'm making money there. TikTok Shop's $1 billion a month platform, like you said. Amazon's like $1 billion a day. Yep. So if people can just go over to Amazon and search, let's say it's like ashwagandha gummies for Goli, and they scroll until they find the product that they saw on TikTok, which is the Goli one, they click and buy, and suddenly Amazon's like, wow, you're the best, listing for ashwagandha gummies. Everyone just wants to buy that. So your search ranking start to improve. Yep. Start climbing the leaderboard. If you go from like number 10 on the first page, I don't even know where it goes down to like number 1 for a specific category, if it's big enough, that's a huge, huge opportunity for brands. And they can spend all day on PPC, and like the other brands are also spending, and they're just competing with each other on there. Or they could go off channel into somewhere where it's going to drive, users. It's going to drive like what looks like to Amazon, the organic visitors, because they don't know where it's coming from, and they're clicking and they're buying off that keyword. Those keyword rankings are really worth the money. And then you'll see Nielsen reports for like these brands that are doing well on TikTok Shop. You're seeing them pick up in the retailers. Now the retailers love you. Your sell-through is better. Your retail velocity obviously, whatever you want to call it, you're making more money in retailers. So that's kind of the power of TikTok Shop. It's so top of funnel. It's so brand awareness. Like there's like a billion people on it. Like everybody's watching TikTok.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're going to buy from the video, because maybe they're just like, oh, it's TikTok Shop. Like I've never tried it. You're still in their head now. You got to see a brand like 7 times before you go and buy it on Amazon or something like that. Well, the first couple times might come from TikTok, right? And then like you have a couple other touch points and you don't know exactly where they first heard about you. Even if you asked them, they might not remember. Like, you don't even remember what you had for breakfast this morning. Like you're probably not going to remember where you first heard about a brand, but it's working. It's in the ethos.
Yes. There was a few kind of like anecdotes on this halo effect of TikTok Shop and like a TikTok viral presence impacting Amazon and retail. I remember seeing, because I just like watched Guru Nanda for like that 12-month period. And then I remember seeing them, they got to the #1 slot in health and household for a little bit, like more than a handful of days. And I was talking to a friend who runs a very large supplement nutrition brand that had been in that spot before. And he was saying, just by virtue of being in that spot, you're doing like $3 to $4 million on Amazon per day. Because many shoppers are just like, let me go to the health and household category. And then it's like Bounty, batteries, whatever Guru Nanda is, it seems like all of America wants it. So I'm just going to go buy this thing or check it out. So that's kind of like this important halo effect that's happening there that you especially, I think, highlighted with the importance of Amazon rankings. So like Amazon wants to see off-platform traffic coming to Amazon, searching for a product. That's like really good signal for them, right? To say like, hey, this supplement or this, cookware brand now shouldn't be ranked 10,000. They should be ranked 1,000 or 100 or 50 because of how much off-platform traffic is coming there. And I think ultimately people want to buy where they feel most comfortable, right? Like I'm just buying all my stuff on Amazon. I don't care about signing up for a new like TikTok Shop account and whatnot. The second anecdote that I have from a much smaller brand, one of my friends runs this company called Behave. They make better for you snacks and gummies. And she said they got on TikTok Shop somewhat recently and they had a few kind of like founder videos go viral and they had creators making a bunch of content. And after those like 10 videos, they had a buyer from Sprouts reach out and was like, hey, I see all of the velocity here. We'd love to like bring you in on our experimental table. They got in on the experimental table and they like outsold what their expectations were, like 3 to 1, just by virtue of like not that many videos being there. So I think there's this like 2-part thing where all of the retailers and buyers are looking at these platforms. And if they just see you a few times, like you may appear bigger and more relevant than is maybe like the data actually shows. But then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because then you get all this reach in Sprouts and then you actually do become as relevant and interesting as like the buyer initially thought. So I love this idea of the halo effect. And I think it's also important for brands to understand like, hey, you can't just think about the channel as like ROI, right? If I hire an agency, I give them $10,000 a month. I see this month. Do I have like a 3x return on this channel? Because you might be seeing lift, across the board. So we talked halo. Now I want to talk a little bit about just like a strategy, right? What it looks like to onboard a brand and how we're going to tackle this. Because we've kind of like touched upon it in the abstract, but I'm someone who just learns through like clear example. So I want to do this. I think we probably like spoke about this brand probably when it was a little bit earlier, but I'm involved with this brand Sun Powder. It is a drinkable like skincare supplement that helps protect your skin from sun damage. We've had a DTC presence for a little over a year now. We have 17,000 followers on TikTok. We maybe post a video like once every few days here. Our price point is $48. There's like good kind of problem solution value props here. So I come to you, you're saying, okay, does this seem like a product that could work on TikTok Shop?
Let me take a look.
Yeah.
Dive right into it. Yeah. So I think with a product like this, like I think you're in the right category, right? Like this is a category that, does well on TikTok Shop, like health and wellness. It's a very problem solution focused brand. So that's great. In terms of like the price point, you're a little bit above what you would want on TikTok Shop. Like TikTok Shop 20, 30, I think this is at like 40.
48. Yeah.
48. So it's, in normal terms, it's not luxury, but in TikTok Shop, this is kind of luxury.
Sure.
So I think what you'll find is like your COGS are probably a little bit higher. Your quality of your ingredients is a little bit higher. It's a little bit more expensive to blast out samples. Like now, if you're a private label supplement brand that's just like, they're using some manufacturer and they're sticking their logo on it. Maybe it's like $5, $10 for the product and a couple dollars shipping. They can blast it out to creators, right? Send hundreds of samples.
Yeah.
And they're okay. When you have like a product that's a little bit more expensive, that might not be the best model.
Yep.
So I think what you'll find for for brands like this is like in the beginning, obviously you want to be careful because like you're not trying to compete on price. You're not trying to be like a commodity brand. Like this is actually, you've got some great people on it that are kind of authority figures. So it's like, hey, we're not like, you know, just selling the cheapest stuff.
Yep.
So in the beginning, it might help a little bit to flash sale it just to get the ball rolling. So like if you can get it down to that $35 price point with some flash sales, obviously not going to be like a long-term strategy.
Sorry, what is a flag sale?
Oh, sorry, flash sale. So like,
flash sale. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'll explain it for the people watching. Like TikTok Shop has this feature where it's called a flash sale, where it's like, not only does it show the discount, but also for most users will show you where it ends.
Okay.
Or when it ends. So it's kind of has that like, it has both the discount, which people love, but also has like the immediacy, and it drives that urgency of sale. So if you run some of those, like you can run, you know, a couple every week, you're at a price point where now it's like, okay, this is kind of more of a no-brainer because I know this brand is great. It seems like it has a lot of authority. And now it's at a price point where it's like, I can't go wrong just trying it, right?
Sure.
That's kind of what we've seen do well for brands that are a little bit higher price point. So run like a flash sale until things start to pick up. Then you can kind of ease off of it. Like maybe you start at like 20, 30% for the first like 100 orders or 500 orders. Then you kind of start dropping it down. It's like maybe we'll do like a 15% discount. Maybe we'll do a 10% discount.
Yep.
At a certain point, you go back to like the price point that you wanted, because for a lot of brands at this price point, they don't want it to just be a discount brand.
Sure.
That helps a bit. I think you'll find that like the quality of creators of just people that you're sending a free sample to, and it's commission only. Obviously, these people aren't getting paid up front. So like there's like an expectation that like, hey, I'm going to make a video, but it's not going to be like the greatest video I've ever made, right? I'm not going to spend like 5 hours editing it. You didn't even pay me anything. You just gave me the product for free.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go a little bit up market in terms of creators. You might have to get someone who's done 100,000 in sales in a, like on a product that's actually more expensive, right? Like you go to like Fastmoss, which is like a analytics tool that shows you creator sales. You go there and you're like, oh, here's a creator, or here's 5 or 10 creators that have done a similar product or a similar market or a competitor at this price point.
Sure.
I know they can do it. I'm going to ping them across channels. Like they're probably not going to respond if I just ping them on TikTok. I'm going to email them. I'm going to find them on Instagram where they have fewer followers. I'm going to, you know, hit them across channels and be like, hey, I'm serious about you promoting this product. I know you can do it. And then instead of spending, let's say if you sent out 200 samples and yours is a little bit more expensive, it's a $20 product.
Sure.
Instead of spending like $4,000 sending out 200 samples and all the videos are maybe not that great, especially because they really have to sell it. If you get that person on retainer, you're like, hey, I want you to make me 5 videos for $1,000 or whatever it is. So $200 per video. This is like what's done well for me on Meta. These are the angles. Like I really want you to hit these angles. It's not like a commission only creator where they can just ignore everything that you said and just post a video, right? There's no revisions. There's no brand approval. So you get a little bit of a higher quality creator. You send them like a script. There's obviously like creators on TikTok that are huge, that drive like $1 million GMV. They're kind of hard to get a hold of. Their rates are expensive. But then there's some people in the middle that like, they're not crazy celebrity creators, right? They don't have like 100,000 or 1 million followers. They might have like 10, 20, 30,000.
Sure.
But they have a track record where if you go on Fastmoss, you're like, oh, I see this person is driving sales for a similar product. That's a little bit more worth your money because you're looking more for quality. You're not looking for quantity of creators.
So let me ask you this question. Of course, there's a world in which like, hey, I hire you. So first, as we're kind of talking about strategy here, we like analyze a product, but then the first kind of thing that you're highlighting here is creator seeding. So you have to like go heavy on creator seeding. So is my takeaway from that, hey, that is like a really important thing that we should do day one. And it's not just, let's get you set up on TikTok Shop and then the co-founders can make videos here and then link to TikTok Shop and then hope that goes viral? Is it like creator seeding is the bread and butter of a good TikTok Shop strategy?
Yeah. If you're someone like Gurunanda or you're someone where like the products are $20, $30 range, you can get videos for so cheap by seeding to commission only creators, right?
Sure.
Like, let's say your product costs like $6. Like they're at scale. They have like these crazy economies of scale. They're getting the product for pretty cheap and then they're adding on shipping. So they're getting videos for like $8 a piece. Even if 1 out of 10 is a quality video, $80 per video, you're probably not going to get that on the UGC marketplace. It might cost you $100, $150. For them, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Like just seed it out heavy and then you get videos for cheap and the hit rate is what it is.
So now what do the like brass tacks of seeding look like? So how many people do I need to seed in my first, let's call it like a 3-month strategy or 4-month strategy? How many creators do I need to seed each month, ideally? And then backing out, how many do I need to reach out to?
Yeah. So like typically we recommend 200 to 300 videos coming out per month for the brand.
Okay.
And the reason we got to this number is like, it used to be TikTok Shop. Like we were talking about, you added a shop link and it was like
Didn't do anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it was just like,
they
were giving it a little
Sure.
bit more reach in the beginning.
Yep.
But now it's like, okay, now it's getting pretty competitive. You have creators, like I know creators are posting 10 videos a day across brand accounts, right? Same number of eyeballs, but just way more videos are coming out now.
Sure.
Because creators are realizing I can make 20, 30,000 a month if I just, do this TikTok shop thing full time. So you've gotten to the point where it's way more competitive. It might have been 1 out of 50 videos went viral before. Now it's like 1 out of 100, 1 out of 150.
Sure.
So if you really want to give yourself a solid shot of something taking off, you want to do 200 to 300 videos per month.
Okay.
That way, TikTok is just getting more and more competitive. It's just harder and harder to get viral.
Yep.
COVID era was kind of like, we kind of were all stuck in one area.
Sure.
Everybody was just on their phones. That's when TikTok really blew up. Like that was like kind of an anomaly. Now it's like there's tons to do, right? Like it's a beautiful summer day. You might be on your phone. You might be out doing something. So probably same number of eyeballs or maybe even less compared to that era, and way, way, way more videos. Like everybody is understanding the power of content. There's so many creators.
Yep.
So anyways, you need 200 to 300 videos. Now, if you're a brand and you have like a spokesperson and say like they're a doctor or they're like a dentist or whatever it is, that person's time is probably pretty limited. Like, yes, those videos do great. Like if you have the founder making videos, like you see brands like Breeze where it's just like a lot of founder-led creatives are doing great.
Yep.
It's because like that's kind of rare, right? Like it's rare that like a 9-figure, 10-figure company would have their CEO making videos, right?
Yep.
So it kind of catches their attention. It's different than what you normally see where it's just like a UGC creator.
Sure.
So yeah, those videos do well, but like probably you're not having like a doctor spit out 200 videos per month on TikTok. Even if you do a video a day, 30 videos, and they're dialed in, it's like you could just get unlucky and it just doesn't hit with the algo, right? It's very tough to go viral. Now with creators, you add in creators and you have 200 to 300 videos coming from flat fee creators or commission only creators, wherever it's coming from. Now you're giving yourself a solid shot. The first month or two might still be hard. TikTok doesn't know who to show it to. But then once you start getting some sales, TikTok's like, okay, I'm not just showing it to anybody. I'm showing it to people similar to the people who bought, right? Then it gets better with targeting. So just like with Meta, it's like you ask people like how many creatives I had to test. They're like, you got to be testing like 20, 30 per week to actually get to a point where you can find a winner. Same thing with TikTok. Like you need to be getting like 200, 300 videos per week. And TikTok actually has this nice graph that like shows, and it's coming from TikTok. They show it at like every event, where it comes from like key accounts, which is like brands doing either, I think above 10 million or 100 million a year, or just like above a certain amount on TikTok shop. And it's a relationship between videos posted and GMV, and it's basically a straight line. Like all those brands that we've been mentioning, like Simple Modern, or we're talking about Gurunanda, they have thousands of videos being posted per month. And that's like bare minimum to be at that million plus mark. Like there's no brand that's like at 200, 300 videos and it's doing $1 million a month on TikTok shop. I've never seen it. It's got to be like 1,000 videos coming out, or extremely heavy live streaming.
So I want to talk about live streaming in a second, but how are you getting these creators? Is there like a platform where you can say, hey, I have this product, I want creators like, for example, with Sun Powder, we want creators who talk about like beauty and skincare. Are there like easy filters for that where it then gives me, hey, here's a list of 1,000 creators and then you can mass DM them with one message? Or is it like a much more manual effort? How does that look?
Yeah, there's a lot of like outreach bots. So like there's a few big names like Yuka, Reacher, Uptick. Like they're all designed to kind of do similar thing. They have like different feature sets, different pricing, but they will message creators on the TikTok shop platform. They'll send them what's called like a target collaboration, where it's like, hey, request a sample of this. This is how much commission rate you're going to get, blah, blah, blah. We have 7 days to accept it once we request you. That's a pretty low hit rate. It's like you're going to get maybe a 1-2% response rate. So like if you want to get 200 creators, you got to message like 20,000 or something on the platform, and it's messaging like 2,000 a day or something. Then there's also limits from TikTok side where they're like, hey, if you're a new brand, you can only message 2,000 per week or whatever it is. There's like different outreach limits. So that's definitely a tool that a lot of brands are utilizing. But then I think the top brands are like layering something on top. They're not just doing the commission only creators. They're working with like flat fee creators. They're really like re-incentivizing and managing the creators that do well. Because at the end of the day, this is all creator driven. It's like without affiliate creators, TikTok shop wouldn't be a thing. So if you have a creator that's like generating 90% of your revenue and you sent them a sample and they're doing it on a commission only basis, and then you ping them with some bot and you never talk to them again. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen in a month or two when some other brand is pinging them and they're giving them a higher commission rate? They're a more well-known brand. They're doing better. So like it's easier to go viral.
Okay. Quick break here as we are talking about gifting and the importance of gifting at scale. A lot of brands now, when they're doing outreach and DMing creators, there will be this very manual effort to asking them for their address, what products that they want, and then taking that, putting it into a spreadsheet or a Google form, and then uploading it in the back end on Shopify. This is a problem that tons of brands have. It's a problem that I've had myself. And so a tool that I love to use is called Influencer Gift Form. IGF, I'll link it here. Basically, this is a Google form that integrates with your Shopify backend. You just send the link to the creator. It's a checkout form that inputs a free product. They can fill out their address, and it just reduces this manual effort to basically zero. So check out the influencer gift form. It is saved me tons of time, tons of money. This was a process that would take us 20, 30 hours a week. So check it out. Let me know what you think. We'll get back to it with Zane.
It's like where a lot of brands miss out is like they never re-engage that creator. They never give them like, you don't have to put them on a retainer, like give them a flat fee per video. Well, you talk to them, like develop some kind of relationship, see what their thoughts are. Maybe they don't want that. They're like, hey, I don't want to feel like I'm committed to making these videos, but like I would love to try a sample of that. I would love to try that. You wouldn't even have known, right? Like they want to try different products. Maybe they want a slightly better commission rate. Maybe they have some feedback on the product. But it's like keep those creators happy because they're like, you'll see that 10% of them are driving like 90% of your revenue. So that's something to keep in mind. It's like a lot of people think that they can just run this outreach bot and then they can sit back and it'll just take care of itself.
Yep.
But everybody's doing that now. Like all these outreach platforms or outreach tools that I mentioned are huge. They have hundreds of brands on them. So you're competing with all of them and the creators are getting flooded. So you got to be a little bit more creative.
Find new ways to
exactly
reach out to them. So creative seeding, creator seeding, super important. Reaching out to them, retaining them, giving them like good briefs and kind of understanding of the product. Then there's lives. So I have heard some brands going live for like 24 hours a day, leaning super heavily into lives. What's the deal with lives? Do you have to be doing it? Do you then need someone on your team who is doing that? How do you think about that and how do you execute on it?
Yeah, I think with lives is where you probably see the biggest disconnect between what TikTok is really pushing and saying and like what some people on the agency side, like ourselves or even brands are saying kind of as a response. I think it's important to understand that like TikTok at the end of the day, like ByteDance and TikTok is previously like a, Chinese company, Chinese entity. In China, like 80% of sales on like a platform like TikTok Shop are coming from live streaming. Other countries in Asia, it's kind of the same thing. Like you go to Malaysia market, Indonesia market, it's exploding. So I think in their head, it's like, hey, this is coming. And then maybe a lot of it is just like brands not putting an effort into it. And then I think with the agency side and the brand side, they're like, hey, customer behavior has just not changed. Like people are watching live streams like Speed and creators like that. They're like kind of Gen Z. So it's coming. Like people are sitting there and watching live streaming. We saw Hormozy sell $100 million worth of books on a live stream. So it's like, clearly that's coming. But do I think that people are there where they're going to sit on a live stream and just be buying $20, $30 products? It's happening. But across our clients, I'll tell you the data that we have, because that's what we can see. It's like 13% of the sales are coming from live streaming. Do I think that changes? 13%.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's still mainly short video.
Sure.
Do I think that's going to change over 5 years? For sure. But am I going to tell a brand that just onboarded, like, hey, the first thing we're going to do is go live streaming like 12 hours a day? Definitely not. I think what you mentioned, like there's some brands that are 24/7 live streaming. I've spoken to Jay at Mary Roots. He's very, very sharp on TikTok Shop. They started at like a crawl, walk, run approach. Like if you talk to him, he's like, hey, I got somebody on the team. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you like $20, $50, live stream from your kitchen. Let's see if it works. Do it for an hour or two. They're like, okay, cool. Kind of fun, right? So they did that. And it's once they started getting traction, it's like, okay, we're going to go. So if we're talking live streaming, like there's live stream agencies in LA or New York, like it's pretty expensive. Like we're in a space that like, hey, if we're going to rent out the studio, if we're going to hire a creator, we're paying them an hourly fee, we're paying monthly for the studio. It starts to get pretty up there.
Yeah.
And in my head, live streaming a lot of times can be like retargeting. Like someone saw the product, they tapped it, they didn't buy. Next time they're scrolling through, TikTok's like, I'm going to pull them into a live stream. And there's a really big skill barrier. It's like some brands really understand how to do live streams. It's way tougher than short videos. Everyone kind of understands short videos. Everyone's probably filmed like a TikTok or Instagram video before.
Yeah.
99% of people probably have never done a live stream.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you keep people engaged? It's like they're sitting there, like they're not doing anything else. Like you have them for like 5-10 minutes. How do you keep them going? Like eventually you run out of script. Eventually you run out of things to say. Like you need to have a really good discount. You need to engage people. You need to make it fun. There needs to be like games, contests. The brands that you're seeing rip with live streams, like they've kind of cracked that and most brands haven't. So live stream, I think it's going to continue to pick up. Or like today, would that be like the first thing I'm talking to a brand about? Probably not. Short videos, it's kind of proven.
Got it. So creator seeding as like short videos, do you also recommend that the brand account is making videos too?
It always helps, right? Like if you have a brand account, you're not giving commission to anyone.
Correct.
Right? Like you have the brand account, you start spending on ads. Like there's like this whole kind of tension between like running ads and like creator posts. Cause like typically if you're giving a creator 25%, 30% commission, then you're also spending on ads. Even if you're getting a 3x ROAS or 30% tacos, whatever you want to call it, your margin's kind of gone.
Yep.
So there's like a shop ads commission feature where you give the creator a reduced commission on ads because you're going to run ads on it. It's going to cost you money, but you're getting them sales. But then there's always that tension of like, okay, you're reducing my commission by this much. You know, what's nice about when you have your own videos, it's like, great, you can spend all day on ads on that video. And it's like, there's no commission. There's nothing like that to worry about. It's just like the standard, you know, gross margin that you're looking at and how much you're paying on ads. So it's always great when brands do that. And what you will see is that like, that's really hard for brands to be like consistent about that. I mean, being a creator in general, I would say it's like really difficult. It's just like, you're taking something like creativity and you're trying to make it into like a routine thing, you know, and that doesn't really work. Like your best ideas probably come like sporadically. Like, if you're like a painter or an artist, like you're probably not like, you know, every day I'm going to make something, right? And it's tough. Like when brands try to hire creators, they try to do it in-house. Like that's the kind of thing that always seems to fall off. It's like when they're making their own posts or they're live streaming, like it's hard to get that consistency. It's way easier when you're just like sending out to hundreds of creators. You can see what their post rate is. You can see how often they actually post when they get the video. You're following up with them to like keep them posting. That seems to be a little bit better. And some brands, like if they're already kind of behind the 8 ball on some of these things, they probably are still kind of behind on like how important content is. So they don't have a dedicated content person. They don't really see the value of it. They want to see some traction from like other people doing it. It's like, hey, you go and do this. Like we don't feel like doing this. We don't know if it's actually that important. Right.
Yep.
And then later, I think everyone's going to have like an in-house content team because it's going to be the only way to win.
Yeah. So, okay, if I'm to kind of like take a step back and think about this strategy, it is one, creator seeding. So finding all these creators, reaching out to them, briefing them, setting the right commissions, making sure your pricing structure works well for TikTok. Then two, you kind of mentioned the importance of like paid behind some of this. I would have to guess if I'm the platform TikTok, I kind of want brands to be doing all of the things. Like I want them to be seeding. I want them to be making their own content. I also want them to be paying us for the ads to like generally get that lift. So you have this like performance marketing component of this. You have like this influencer seeding component of this. You have a potential lives component of this, like a lot of different pieces to make TikTok Shop run. Are you finding that brands are equipped to like run this in-house, or is it, hey, just like performance marketing, they're just like hiring it out? And because you need like a handful of people like doing this stuff every day.
Yeah. I think what you'll find is like a lot of the biggest winners right now in TikTok Shop started really early. So they started like right when it came out of beta. It's such a momentum based platform that they're still in the top 10. So a lot of them have in-house teams because when they started, there weren't a whole lot of agencies that had it figured out. Now I think that's changing where it's like, okay, a lot of these bigger brands are coming on. They're not trying to do TikTok Shop in-house, right? Like they're like a 9-figure brand. They're just like, we're going to hire an agency. We don't care how much we have to pay them. As long as the results are there, we're going to pay them. Now agencies have been around for a bit. They're like, okay, we understand all these pieces. So obviously I have a biased take on it because we have an agency. I've seen brands kill it in-house as long as they understand it and they're willing to dedicate the resources. I've seen some brands where like the agency's running all of it. What I will say is like, coming back to what we were talking about in terms of like halo effect is like, you never really know where a customer heard about the brand. It's the same thing that goes with like live streaming versus organic versus creators. Like everything's last touch attribution. So if you were watching the creator video, you tapped and you bought, TikTok's going to tell you the sale came from the creator. Creator's going to get their commission. It's not going to tell you like, oh, they watched a live stream that you had 3 days ago. Then they watched a branded video 2 days ago. Then on the third day, they finally bought from the creator because they already had all this built up trust. And then the creator was pushing the price or the discount or like pushing the urgency, like go tap the link and buy right now. Cause they're the ones getting paid, right? They're the salesperson. And everyone knows like a good salesperson, if the leads are super warm, it makes it really easy. If somebody's like, oh, I've been watching like your agency founders videos for like 6 months. Now I'm on a call. Like I can't wait to work with you guys. Easy. If someone's like, oh, I'm brand new to whatever you guys do, like tell me more about it. They're already kind of on guard. It's going to be way harder for them to close that person. So TikTok wants you to do all those features because obviously it's TikTok and they want you using all their stuff. But also at the same time, it's like, yeah, there's a point to it. Like there's, you never know. Someone didn't really buy from the live stream, but like at that point, they know your brand really well. Like, if someone watched a 30-minute YouTube video with me and then they hop on a call, it's a much different dynamic than like if they got a cold email from from me and they never heard about me before.
Yep.
You know, affiliate short video is kind of like a cold email, and like someone sitting through a 30-minute live stream, it's kind of like them watching something long form.
Got it. Okay. All right. I think we covered a lot of very useful information here for brands. And it was also very instructive for me as we think about TikTok Shop too. So we're kind of like talking about all of this high level. If a brand is listening to this, they're ready to like figure out TikTok Shop. They feel like they fit, you know, some of this like checklist that we talked about before. Where's the best place they can talk to you about whether or not they would be a good fit for like getting on TikTok Shop, potentially working with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm pretty active on like Twitter, LinkedIn. Probably like the best way to reach me is by email. So it's my first name, ZAIN @zenith.agency. So
I'll drop it in. Yeah. Perfect.
So I'm also decently active on like Twitter, LinkedIn, but like if that's
big Twitter shit poster.
Exactly. Which also goes back to like our previous conversation. A lot of people will be like, they won't really understand. And a lot of it's just for fun. Like, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't go anywhere, it's for fun. But then the top of funnel kind of brand awareness where people are like, oh, I've seen that guy's tweet, or like,
yeah.
You kind of filter through people who are like, there's some people who are just like very serious, where it's like, we probably don't want a client that like thinks that this is like law, or they think it's like medicine, or it's like life.
It's really not.
It's like something kind of fun.
We're selling product through 60-second videos.
It's widgets, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that serious. So like, it kind of filters the clients where it's like, okay,
sure.
People who are like, hey, I kind of vibe with that kind of level of like humor or authenticity, would be like, okay, that's, you know, let me reach out to this guy. It filters that out. But also like just brand awareness is just like, if you see somebody's tweets like 2 or 3 times, and it doesn't even have to be like a potential client, like these partners that we have, you're top of mind, right? I'm like, we're not the only TikTok Shop agency. We're not the only marketing agency, but it's like, hey, if they remember you because they just saw something about you yesterday, and they're like, oh, okay, that guy's funny. I like that guy. Like, I want to make sure if somebody asks me on TikTok Shop, I'm going to send it that way instead of the 20 other agencies I know. So yeah, it's always funny. It's like, people have a really, like, there's that quote that's like 50% of marketing spend is wasted, but I don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
Now we've gotten so good at like attributing with like Meta. We were talking about like a conference, like they're taking over all this budget because you can see like what the results are. But then there's all this marketing that happens offline that you can't see, that like these new age brands are starting to like forget about, and they're starting to discount. And then there's like brands who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to sponsor the Formula One movie. I'm going to have my logo on that guy's helmet.
Yeah.
I'm going to go sponsor like the US Open, and like every time you're watching tennis, you're just seeing my logo for like an hour or 2 hours. And they're happy to do that all day if it's like a big enough TAM and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think as we are getting more into this D2C scene, and we're just every day we're checking Meta and we're looking at the ROAS, and like if it goes down, they're like, oh, maybe I should be doing manual bids. Maybe it's because I went from CBO to ASC, and it's like, dude, like last week I had a YouTube video that like went viral. Like, that's what happened. And we were talking about the Stanley Cup thing. Like I saw one of the Simple Modern founders who was like, yeah, I was looking at my year over year. I was like, it looks terrible. And then they realized that January that incident happened. It wasn't even their brand, right? It was like Stanley or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It caused a halo effect to the whole category.
Yeah. So everyone's looking.
You start to ignore like what's happening, and like, people are like, man, like I can't believe my jackets aren't selling that well anymore. Last month they were doing so well. It's like, dude, step outside. Like, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's a pretty hot summer. Like, people forget that like we don't exist in like this small like siloed ad manager, and like all I do all day is just see your Instagram ads. There's a ton of other time.
It's life happening. Yeah.
There's life happening. So yeah, I think it's always smart to like get brands to understand that. I think the brands that are doing best on TikTok Shop, it's kind of like that age old adage, which like whoever can spend the most can win. It's like the brands who are like, okay, I'm going to break even on TikTok Shop because I know I'm all these other places. And I understand the spillover. I understand LTV. I understand like, hey, if this is new customer acquisition and I have 30% repurchase rate, I have a 6-month LTV, whatever it is, I know I'm going to make my money on this.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not going to try and like hound everything that's happening and be like, oh, where's my 10-15% margin on the first purchase?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's good to be first purchase profitable. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying the brands have like built out the pipeline and they have really good retentions. They're going to hit you with emails for forever. They're going to hit you with ads for forever. They're going to be, when you walk into Walgreens, you're going to see them on the shelf. Like, those brands aren't too worried, and then they can really go hard at TikTok Shop and not worry so much about month one financials. Right? They're looking like 6 months, a year down the road. Long term always wins.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.